I don't really know where to begin with my story. I was supposed to be living my dream retirement, but here I am. I hit rock bottom. My name is Rick. I had dreamt about retiring to Thailand for years. I don't even know when the idea first planted itself in my head. Maybe it was back when I visited Bangkok in my 30s on a business stopover. Or maybe it was just from all the videos and stories I'd soaked up over time. What I do know is, the dream never left me. For the last 15 years of my career, every time I opened my work laptop, every time I sat through another mind-numbing meeting or heard my boss drone on about KPIs, I'd drift off. In my head, I was on a beach in Hua Hin, sipping a cold beer as the sun dropped into the sea. That image became my escape, my goal, my reason to keep pushing through the slog. I was 58 when I finally pulled the trigger. I had no wife, no kids, and no real ties left in the UK. I'd done everything right, worked 35 years in telecoms, paid off a modest 2-bedroom house in Stockport, and managed to squirrel away enough to give retirement a proper go. I had about $95,000 in the bank. My pension would kick in at 67, but I wasn't going to wait that long. I figured I didn't need much. Life in Thailand was cheap. Everyone said so. I sold the house, packed up the few things I cared about, and booked a one-way ticket to Bangkok. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Excitement. Real, heart-thumping, Christmas Eve as a kid kind of excitement. I remember stepping off the plane at Suvarnabhumi like it was yesterday. The heat hit me in the face like an oven door. The smell was a mix of petrol fumes, street food, and rain-soaked concrete. Strangely enough, it felt comforting, like I was finally waking up after years of sleepwalking through life. My plan was simple. Travel around for a few months, find a place that felt right, and settle down. I had no intention of rushing into anything. No bar girls, no fast flings. I wasn't one of those guys. I'd read the forums. I knew the horror stories. I was going to do it right. I stayed in Bangkok for the first 2 weeks. Rented a clean, little serviced apartment near the BTS. Spent my days exploring soys, sipping iced coffees, eating everything I could find. I avoided the nightlife. I wasn't chasing any kind of scene. I was after peace. But Bangkok didn't feel like peace. It was too loud, too fast, too expensive. I gave Chiang Mai a go. That felt too sleepy. Hua Hin, too sterile. Like a retirement brochure come to life. Then one evening in a small bar, I got talking to another expat over a bottle of Chang. "You ever consider Pattaya?" he asked. I laughed. "Isn't that just for dirty tourists?" He shrugged. "That's what they say. But it depends what you're looking for." The next week, I jumped on a bus and headed to Pattaya. Within a week, I'd found a decent little condo near the beach. Nothing fancy, just a 1-bedroom with a view of the sea if you leaned far enough over the balcony. It was quiet, had a pool, and the rent was only 15,000 baht a month. At that price, I felt like I could live like a king for $1,200 a month. Or so I thought. Everything started to settle. I slipped into a rhythm. Mornings by the pool, lazy walks in the afternoon, cheap eats at the markets, the odd beer now and then. I even started picking up a bit of Thai, just enough to be polite. "How much?" "Thank you." No sugar. For the first time in years, I felt calm. I felt free. And then I met Fawn. Wasn't looking for anyone. Not seriously, anyway. I just wanted to enjoy life on my terms. But Fawn didn't feel like the others. Or at least that's what I told myself. She wasn't loud. She wasn't pushy. She wore jeans and a plain blouse. Not one of those skimpy numbers you see in every neon-lit bar. I met her in a small, open-air bar just off 2nd Road. I only ducked in for a quick beer to escape the heat. She brought me the beer, smiled, and asked in surprisingly good English, "First time in Pattaya?" I smiled back. "That obvious, is it?" We got talking. She told me she was from Udon Thani, mid-30s, single mom. Said she worked to support her son and parents back home. Told me she didn't enjoy bar work, but that options were limited. She was sharp, had a warm laugh, and for once I didn't feel like a walking ATM. We sat there for hours. I bought her a couple of lady drinks, but we just talked. No pressure, no flirting beyond the occasional smile. When I left, she didn't even ask for anything. That's when I started thinking. Maybe Fawn was different, and now, looking back, I realize just how delusional I was. The next day I told myself I wouldn't go back to the same bar. That was the plan. Keep things light. Keep things simple. One conversation, a few drinks, and move on. I didn't want to get tangled in anything. But late afternoon rolled around, and my feet just started walking in that direction. No real thought behind it. It just happened. I told myself it was just to see if she remembered me. Just curiosity. Fawn was there, sitting at the end of the bar, legs crossed, scrolling on her phone. Her hair was tied up in a bun. No makeup, just a plain blue shirt and jeans. She looked up and smiled when she saw me. No performance, no clapping or shouting handsome man like the others sometimes did. You come back, she said, smiling as she stood to greet me. Only for a quick one, I replied, even though I knew I was lying. We talked again. This time she opened up more. Told me about her son. He was 10, lived with her mother and father in Udon. His father, a local Thai guy, had disappeared years ago. No money, no contact, just gone. I asked why she didn't try working somewhere else. A shop, a hotel. She gave me the kind of smile that says you don't really understand. You can work hotel and make 9,000 baht a month. Or you can work here and make 9,000 in 3 days, she said. She wasn't bitter about it. Just matter of fact. That night, she didn't come back to mine either. She said she had to go home and help her friend with something. I offered to pay the bar fine, but she waved it off. Not tonight. Just talk, she said. Maybe another time. It was refreshing. I'd heard stories, read the horror threads, girls laying it on thick, falling in love in 2 hours, crying. If you didn't bar fine them. Fawn wasn't like that. A few nights later I was back again. This time she finished work early and came back to my place. No pressure, no awkwardness. We walked to 7-Eleven, grabbed a few drinks, and sat on my balcony watching the lights flicker on in the buildings across the bay. She told me about her dream, a small coffee shop. Nothing fancy, just her, maybe her sister, selling drinks and cakes near her village. I told her I'd retired early, that I didn't have endless money but enough to live comfortably. She didn't ask how much I had. She didn't ask anything about money. She just nodded and said, "You look happy now." And I was, or at least I thought I was. After that night, we started seeing each other more regularly. I didn't want to admit it, but I looked forward to it. She'd come over after work or I'd meet her for a quiet drink before the bar opened. Sometimes we'd just walk the beach. Sometimes we'd say nothing at all. It was easy. That's the only word I can think of. Easy. One night, while we were lying in bed, she asked, "You ever think about living with someone again?" I laughed it off. I'm not sure I'm cut out for that anymore. She didn't push it, just smiled and said, "Me neither." But something had shifted. I could feel it. This wasn't just a holiday fling. I wasn't just ticking off a box on the midlife crisis checklist. I started wondering if maybe this could be more than what it seemed. That's when I did something stupid. I took her to Central Festival. We walked around the shops, had coffee on the terrace, and I bought her a small gold necklace. Nothing huge. Just a token. She looked at it, then looked at me. "Why you buy this?" "I wanted to. It looks nice on you." She hesitated, then accepted it. "Okay, but I don't want you to think I am your girlfriend now. Not because of gift." I nodded. "I know. I just wanted to do something nice." That moment stuck with me. She didn't fawn over it, didn't ask for more. It felt like she was trying to protect herself just as much as I was. But over the next few weeks, we slipped into something that looked a lot like a relationship. I stopped going to other bars, stopped chatting with other girls. She stopped taking customers, or at least that's what she said. She told her boss she wasn't available for bar fines anymore. "Just drink lady drink," she said. "But only talk with you." It felt good. Maybe too good. I told myself I wasn't falling for her. that this was just company, a nice break from years of silence and loneliness. But the truth was creeping in slowly. I liked waking up and seeing her next to me. I liked hearing her laugh when I tried to speak Thai and got the tone all wrong. I liked the way she hummed to herself when she was doing her makeup in the mirror. And just like that, Fawn was a part of my life. I knew I was breaking my own rules. I wasn't supposed to catch feelings. I wasn't supposed to let someone in this far. Not in Thailand. Not with a bar girl. That was rule number 1 on every forum, every YouTube warning, every late-night horror story over beers with jaded expats. But I wasn't listening anymore. Because Fawn was different. Or at least that's what I kept telling myself. It didn't take long before we were acting like a couple. I'd wake up and she'd already be in the kitchen area, making coffee or cutting up fruit from the market. She started leaving a toothbrush at my place. A small drawer slowly filled with her clothes. Her perfume lingered in the bathroom. It wasn't official, not really. There was no big conversation, no labels, no promises, but it was happening. I was still telling myself I was in control, that I wasn't one of those guys. But I'd already stopped keeping track of how often she stayed over. I stopped checking how much I was spending when we went out. It all felt too natural. One morning over coffee, she looked up from her phone and said, "You think maybe I stay here more? Not pay rent anymore. I can help cook, clean." It wasn't a demand, more like a suggestion wrapped in a smile. I said yes, without even thinking about it. That was the moment it became real. Fawn moved in. Officially. She brought a suitcase the next day. Not much else. Some clothes, a few pictures, and a pink Hello Kitty pillow she said she had since her son was born. And just like that, we were living together. The first few weeks were good. Actually, better than good. She was kind, thoughtful, and always made sure I had something to eat. She didn't nag. She didn't complain. She just blended into my life as if she had always been there. Sometimes she'd go quiet for an hour scrolling through her phone, messaging with her family. I'd ask if everything was okay and she'd nod. Just missing her son, she'd say. I offered to help her visit him, buy her a ticket to Udon. She smiled and said maybe next month. The truth is, I liked having her around too much to encourage her to leave. Even for a few days, I started paying for everything without really noticing. Rent, food, drinks, electricity, her phone top-ups. She'd say thank you, but never acted entitled. Never asked for anything outrageous, just little things. Can we get a rice cooker, only small one? Can you help me send 2,000 to my mom? She'd take care of my son. Need new sandals. These broken. Maybe we go Big C. And I didn't mind. Not at first. Compared to my life back home, it was still cheap. I was spending less than I would living alone in Stockport. And I had Fawn. I wasn't lonely anymore. We started talking about the future. Just little conversations, dropped in between bites of dinner or while walking along the beach. Maybe we open small coffee shop near my village. You help with money, I work. Maybe you buy motorbike, easier to go market. Maybe we get married one day. She would say these things with a shrug like she wasn't serious, like it was just idle talk. But I was listening. Every word sunk in deeper than I wanted to admit. One night, while we were having a drink by the beach, I asked her something I'd been wondering for a while. "Are you still working? At the bar?" She looked surprised, then shook her head. "No. Not go there anymore. Boss angry, but I stop." "Really?" She took my hand. "I have you now. No need." I believed her. God help me, I wanted to believe her. The days turned into months. I found myself settled, comfortable, maybe even happy. I was waking up next to someone. I was eating real meals, laughing again. The days of scrolling YouTube and watching Thailand retirement videos were gone. I was living it. But small cracks started to show. One afternoon, I noticed she was tense, pacing, checking her phone. I asked if something was wrong. "My sister call. Papa sick. Need money for medicine. How much? Only 5,000. I pay half. You help half? It was the first time I saw her flinch when asking for money. Like she knew she was crossing a line. I gave it to her. She thanked me, kissed me, and we moved on. Then 2 weeks later, it was something else. School starts soon. My son need uniform and book. Then it was her phone bill. Her uncle's broken motorbike. A small funeral donation. Nothing huge. But it was every week. The money was leaving quicker than I thought. I wasn't broke, not even close. But I started watching my spending a bit more closely. My $95,000 nest egg had already dipped into the 70s, and it had only been 8 months. Still, I kept telling myself it was worth it. She was worth it. But one night, while she was in the shower, her phone lit up on the table. A message from someone named Tom London. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. The message said, "Miss you, baby, when you come back, Pattaya." I stared at it for what felt like an hour. When she came out wrapped in a towel, I didn't say anything, not right away. I just handed her the phone. She froze, looked down, then back at me. That not what you think. I waited. He is old. Customer. Not boyfriend, just message, I not reply. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to believe her. I needed to. But something shifted in that moment. A little part of me pulled away. I nodded and said, "Okay." We didn't talk about it again. But after that, I started noticing more. She went out more often, started saying she needed to meet friends. She'd be gone for hours, come back late, always sweet, always affectionate, but always with a new excuse. Then one night she came home with a small bruise on her arm. I asked what happened. "Just bump into table," she said. "Nothing." I didn't push it, but I couldn't sleep that night. The next morning she was already dressed before I woke up. "I go visit my friend in Rayong. Just for 2 nights, she said, slinging a small bag over her shoulder. "Want me to come?" "No. Only girls, just relax." She kissed me on the forehead and left. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the Hello Kitty pillow she left behind. And for the first time since moving to Thailand, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Doubt, and deep down I already knew. Fawn was slipping away, or maybe she was never really mine to begin with. Fawn came back 2 days later like nothing had happened. She was smiling, carrying bags of fruit, saying she had missed me. She handed me a mango and kissed my cheek like everything was normal, and I played along. I smiled. I kissed her back. I wanted it to be normal. I needed it to be. We never spoke about Rayong. I didn't ask who she was with. She didn't offer any details. Just said it was nice to see friends, and that was that. Things went back to how they were. On the surface, anyway. But something had changed inside me. I started watching, paying attention to little things. How often she was on her phone. How quickly she turned it over when I walked in the room. How she kept the screen brightness low. I hated feeling like this, suspicious, insecure. That wasn't who I was. And yet, there I was, lying awake at night next to her, wondering if I was being played. A week later, we were walking through Central Festival looking at phones. Her old one had started glitching. She said she needed a new one for line and video calls with her mum. I offered to help. We walked into a shop and she picked one out. I checked the price. 15,000 baht. About $330. Not cheap, but not crazy either. She looked up at me with that sweet, almost shy expression she knew how to use perfectly. I nodded. "Okay, let's get it." She threw her arms around me right there in the store. People stared, but I didn't care. For that moment, I felt like a man again, like I was needed. That night, she was affectionate, playful. We stayed in, drank wine, watched some cheesy Thai soap opera with English subtitles. She laughed at my confused expressions and fed me bits of dried mango. And just like that, the doubts faded. It was like that with Fawn. Every time I started to second-guess things, she'd do something that pulled me back in. She always knew how, to bring me close just before I got too far away. A few nights later, we were walking down Beach Road when she brought it up. She wanted to open a salon. Not a big one, just nails and hair, maybe 2 chairs. She'd already looked at a unit just off 3rd Road, said it was only 6,000 baht a month in rent. We can start small, she said. You help a little, I do the rest. No more bar, no more late night. I want to be good woman for you. That line hit me hard. I remember just standing there looking at her. This beautiful, complicated, frustrating woman in front of me, saying all the right things. I told her I'd think about it. She didn't push, just smiled and kissed my cheek. The next week I ran the numbers. I had around $72,000 left. It wasn't a fortune, but it was more than most people my age had in cash. She said she only needed around 150k baht to get started. That's about $3,500. Not a huge sum, but enough to sting if it all went south. But I convinced myself it was an investment. In her. In us. I told her I'd do it. She cried, said I was a good man, said she'd make me proud. We signed the lease in her name, of course. Foreigners can't legally own businesses like that. I knew the risks, but I also knew how much I wanted this to work. The next few weeks were busy. She was excited. I was hopeful. We bought chairs, mirrors, nail polish racks. She spent hours cleaning the place, decorating it with pink curtains and little potted plants. It actually looked great. Opening day, I helped her hang the sign, Fawn's Salon. Her smile that morning was one of the most genuine things I'd ever seen on her face. Friends from her old bar came by. A few customers trickled in. She even gave me a free haircut, laughing the whole time while butchering my sideburns. And for a brief moment, it felt like we had done it. That we'd built something together. That I was more than just another guy in Thailand chasing a dream. But then came the reality. By the end of the first month, the rent was due, and she had barely made enough to cover half. Too quiet, she said. Too many salons nearby. She asked for help, just for a couple of months until things picked up. I agreed. The next month, the same story. Then the motorbike broke. Then her son needed a tablet for school, and the money just kept bleeding. We were 6 months into the salon project and it was going nowhere. Customers came and went, mostly went. I suggested we cut our losses, maybe move on, try something else. She got angry, said I didn't believe in her, said I'd promised to support her. I backed off, apologized. That night she didn't come home, said she stayed with her cousin. When she returned the next day, she was quiet, distant. And I was back to square one, trying to make things right, trying to buy back peace. The worst part, I still wanted her to love me. I still believed deep down that maybe we just needed more time. So I kept paying, kept hoping, kept pretending. But the hole was getting deeper, and I was starting to realize I might never climb out of it. It had been over 8 months since Fawn opened the salon, and I was starting to feel like a fool. I was still paying the rent, still covering the bills, still making excuses to myself. The shop was always empty. She'd message me at midday saying she was busy, but when I stopped by unannounced, it was just her, scrolling on her phone with the aircon off to save money. I started noticing things that didn't sit right. The salon would be closed some days, no explanation. I'd ask where she was, and she'd say family matters, doctor appointments, or temple days. Always something vague. Always something just believable enough not to push too hard. Then I started seeing the withdrawals. I'd log into my banking app and see the transfer history to her account. 5,000 here, 10,000 there. Sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. I stopped, adding it all up. It made me feel sick when I did. One morning I brought her breakfast and found a gold necklace on the nightstand. A new one, still in the box. I hadn't bought it. She laughed it off. Said it was from a friend back home. A cousin, a gift. She said it quickly, like it wasn't worth talking about. And maybe it wasn't. Maybe it really was from family. But something in her eyes said otherwise. I didn't argue. I couldn't. I was too far in. I told myself I trusted her. that she loved me, that things would be fine. But I didn't believe it anymore. Not really. The day it really started to fall apart was a Thursday. She said she was going to Rayong again to visit her son. Just overnight. By now I knew better than to ask questions. I just nodded and told her to be careful. She didn't come home that night or the next. No calls, no messages. I rang, no answer. I waited and waited. On the third day, she finally texted, "Sorry. Busy with family. Talk later." That was it, nothing else. I didn't hear from her for a week, 7 days of silence, 7 nights staring at my phone, feeling like a ghost in my own life. I tried to distract myself, walked around Terminal 21, ate street food I didn't taste, sat on my condo balcony wondering what the hell had gone wrong. When she finally came back, she acted like nothing had happened, smiling, laughing, kissing my cheek. I didn't even know what to say. I asked if everything was okay. She said yes. I asked why she hadn't answered. She said bad signal. I knew she was lying, but I let it go, because I couldn't handle the truth. Not then. That night, we didn't talk much. She fell asleep early, or pretended to. I sat next to her, in bed, looking at the ceiling fan spinning above us, and realized I didn't even know who I was anymore. The man who once dreamed of a peaceful retirement in Thailand was now a sponsor. A ghost. A man waiting for permission to be loved. The next morning, I made a decision. I didn't say anything. I didn't make a scene. But I quietly stopped transferring money. The rent, the phone top-ups, the little extras. I stopped it all. Wanted to see what would happen. 3 days later, she messaged me, "Can you help with the salon bill? Short this month." I didn't reply. The next day, she called. I let it ring. By the end of the week, she showed up at my condo. She didn't look angry, just tired. She sat across from me, picked at her fingernails, and finally said it. "If you don't want to help anymore, I understand. But maybe we should stop. You don't believe me now. You think bad things may be better we don't continue." I wanted to yell, to ask where she had gone, to demand answers. But I didn't. I just nodded. And that was it. She left without crying, without hugging me, without even saying goodbye. Just walked out of my life like she'd only stopped by for a drink. I sat in that room for hours. I didn't eat. Didn't move. I didn't even cry, because some part of me always knew this was how it would end. The next morning, I logged into my banking app and checked the balance. 41,000 left. I had been in Thailand for just over a year, and in that time, I'd spent nearly half my retirement savings chasing a fantasy. After Fawn left, I thought I'd feel something. Relief maybe, sadness, anger. But I just felt numb. I kept to myself for a while. Didn't go to any bars, didn't message anyone. I'd wake up, make coffee, sit on the balcony, and watch the same street dogs wander past like they had more direction than I did. I tried going to the gym downstairs, even tried signing up for Thai lessons again. But nothing stuck. My head wasn't in it. Everything reminded me of her. I couldn't walk down Second Road without picturing her behind the bar that first night. Couldn't sit at the noodle stall without hearing her laugh in my ears. She was everywhere, even in her absence. 3 weeks passed, and then the knock came. It was a Thai man, maybe in his 40s. Clean shirt, polite smile. He asked for me by name. I said yes, confused, and he handed me an envelope. Inside were photos. Blurry, grainy, but clear enough. Phone. With another man. Not one man, several. Some were just drinking together. Some showed her walking out of a bar holding hands. One was unmistakable. Her with a man in bed. His face blurred, but not hers. There was a note inside, written in Thai. I got it translated later. It said, "She plays many. You are not special. No signature, no explanation. Just that." I stood there holding those pictures like they were burning holes through my skin. Part of me didn't even feel shocked. The other part felt like it was suffocating. I never asked for proof. I didn't want it. I preferred the lie. But now the lie was dead. That night I drank. Not just a beer or two. I drank like I hadn't in years. Started at 7-Eleven. A bottle of Sanxum and a bag of ice. By midnight, I was slurring to the bartender at a dive on Soy Buakaw about how love is fake and dreams are for children. He nodded like he'd heard it all before. He probably had. Somewhere around 2 a.m., I ended up in a girly bar. Not proud of it. I didn't go with anyone. Just sat there watching old men laugh too hard at girls who were too young, pretending everything was fine. I saw myself in them, and I hated it. When I got back to the condo, I tripped over my own shoes and cracked my elbow on the kitchen counter. Sat on the floor and cried for the first time in years. Ugly crying. The kind that makes your whole body shake. I wasn't crying over Fawn, I was crying over everything, the money, the stupidity, the way I let myself believe I could rewrite the rules. I was crying because I didn't know what I had left anymore. The next day I checked my bank account. $36,200. I had gone from a quiet, early retirement to a man scraping the barrel, living in a condo he could barely afford in a country he no longer trusted. And the worst part? I still missed her. Not the real Fawn. The Fawn I thought she was. The version I built in my head. The woman who rubbed my back when I was sick, who said she loved my laugh, who called me Tirak and kissed me like it meant something. That Fawn never existed, but I loved her anyway. A week later, I got a message. It was from her. Can we meet? Just talk. I stared at it for 10 minutes, typed a reply, deleted it, typed again. Eventually, I sent back, okay. I knew it was a mistake, but I wasn't ready to let go just yet. I met Fawn at a coffee shop just off Soy Diana. It wasn't a bar, which surprised me. It felt deliberate, like she wanted it to feel normal, like we were just two old friends catching up. She arrived 10 minutes late, same as always. She looked different this time. Her hair was tied back neatly, no makeup, plain jeans and a t-shirt that said good vibes in faded letters. She looked younger, softer, and somehow older too. We didn't hug, we didn't shake hands. We just sat. The silence between us lasted about half a minute, but it felt like 5. She was the first to speak. You look tired. I nodded. I am. She glanced down at her iced tea, stirring it with a straw. I didn't come to ask for money. I let out a dry laugh. That's a first. She didn't rise to it, just gave me that same small practice smile I used to think meant something. I wanted to say sorry. I kept quiet. She looked me in the eyes then. And I swear, for just a moment, it felt real again. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said, but I think I did. You think? I said. Fawn, you bled me dry, she nodded. I know. There it was, no excuses, no twisting, just the truth. She looked down again. When I first met you, I liked you. You were kind. Not drunk, not angry, just gentle. Yeah, I muttered. That was my mistake. No, she said. That was why I stayed. We sat in silence again. A fan above us creaked slowly. In the corner, a barista was humming to herself off-key. I have a Thai boyfriend, Fawn said suddenly. The words hung in the air like smoke. I've had him for a while. We live together now. There it was. The gut punch. I didn't flinch. I didn't even feel shocked. I just felt hollow. She went on. He knows everything about you, about the others. I told him everything. I nodded. So what was I then? Just funding your future? She hesitated. Yes. That was the first time she ever said something that blunt. And somehow, I respected her for it. A little too late, but honest all the same. He told me not to contact you, she said. But I needed to. I needed to tell you I'm sorry. Because you were the only one who ever really cared. I stared at my cold coffee. The condensation had soaked the napkin under it. You know, I said, I was going to ask you to come back. I thought about it. Thought maybe we could start over. She looked up, surprised. Then her expression softened. I know. I took a deep breath. But now I just want this to be over. She nodded again. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the last thing I had bought for her. A silver necklace, nothing fancy. I had picked it up before everything went wrong, still had the price tag attached. I slid it across the table. She looked at it, then at me. I can't take that. You already took everything else, I said. Standing up, I didn't wait for her reply. I walked out. The sun had just started to set. Pattaya's sky was painted in orange and purple streaks. The air was thick and the world buzzed with heat and scooters and the scent of fried chicken. I stood there on the street, watching people pass me by. Tourists, locals, expats, all of them chasing something. I came to Thailand looking for peace, looking for freedom. What I found was Fawn, and what Fawn gave me was a reminder that dreams are dangerous things when they blind you to reality. I checked my bank app again, 31,700. Just enough to fly home and start over. Maybe, I didn't feel angry anymore, just tired. That night I sat on the balcony with a bottle of Leo and watched the city blink to life. The next morning I woke up before the sun. It was still dark, still quiet. Just the occasional hum of an early tuk-tuk or the distant bark of a soy dog. I hadn't slept much. My mind had been churning all night, playing every moment back like a movie I didn't want to watch. Fawn's face, her words, that strange, calm honesty she dropped on me like a stone in the gut. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the floor for a while. Then I opened my laptop. Skyscanner. One way. Bangkok. To Manchester. It wasn't a decision made out of rage. It wasn't some dramatic I'm done with Thailand moment. It just felt like the next thing to do. There was nothing left here for me now. No dream. No love. Just empty beer bottles and the sound of promises that were never real. The flight was $600. I booked it. Departing in 3 days, I started packing that afternoon. It's funny how few things you actually keep when your whole life goes up in smoke. A couple of shirts, my laptop, passport, one framed photo of me and my dad from 20 years ago. I had left so much behind when I moved here, and now I was leaving behind even less. I didn't tell anyone I was going. Not the other expats. Not my landlord. Not Fawn. Especially not Fawn. I left the condo key on the table with 1 month's rent, still paid. Let them keep the deposit. Let the next poor bloke have his go at paradise. That final evening, I went for a walk along the beach. The sun was low, the air sticky, and the tide was pulling itself quietly back into the sea. Couples strolled hand in hand. Tourists laughed and took selfies with grilled squid on sticks. I stopped at the edge of the sand and stared out at the horizon. For the first time in weeks, my chest didn't feel tight. Maybe this was what letting go felt like. I thought about the first time I came here. How alive I'd felt. How sure I was that I'd finally found it. Whatever it was, had come looking for a new beginning. But I found the ending instead, and maybe that's okay. That night I had one last drink. Same stool, same quiet bar, same Chang in a sweaty bottle. The bar girl didn't recognize me, or maybe she just didn't care. When I got back to the condo, I didn't even bother to sleep. I just sat on the balcony and watched the city fade into the early morning haze. When the taxi arrived, I didn't look back. I didn't cry. I didn't regret. I just left. Back in Manchester, the sky is gray. The wind has a bite. Everything feels small, familiar, real. I live in a rented flat now. Ground floor. Nothing fancy, but it's warm and quiet. I've taken a part-time job stacking shelves at Tesco. Keeps my hands busy. Keeps the mind from wandering too far. Some days I still think about Fawn. About what was real and what wasn't. But I don't message her. And she doesn't message me. That part of my life is gone. Thailand gave me a taste of something I didn't know I wanted, but it also took more than I expected to give. Would I do it all again? Probably. Would I do it differently? Definitely. But for now, I'm just trying to rebuild before I have another go at paradise.